But
Well, welcome everybody to another Friday. Hopefully everybody had a great week, productive. Why don't we jump into it? Anybody have anything on the line? Any leads, needs, good deeds? It's been a while since we've heard a good deed.
yeah, let's do a good deed. Someone's got a good deed.
I got an interesting story. It was a deed, but it turned weird. So I was door knocking properties, and I was helping this one guy out who was in foreclosure, and he was looking to sell his house. But I think he was working with like scammers who said he had to get like some HVAC permit that wasn't necessary because I talked to my people down here in the New Wealth Advisors Club. They said that it wasn't a thing, so I was like, oh, okay. And then we went down to talk to him some more, and yeah, we were back and forth. It was going great, and then all of a sudden he kind of just ghosted me out of the blue. I was like, oh, that's kind of weird, because we've been talking, everything was going great. We were gonna get it undercut. It was going awesome. But yeah, it kind of like ghosted for 3 weeks, and then I was like, all right, it's probably door knocking with Zach or something. So I went down there, and we were talking on for a little bit, and then we found out from the neighbor that the guy had a heart attack and died. Like it was crazy. So yeah, I've never really ran into that. And then I actually asked like Zach, my mentor, he's like, hey, have you ever ran into that? He's like, no, dude, that's weird. I'm like, yeah. So that was something new.
Oh wow. Yeah. So he passed away then. And did he have a will or?
Well, yeah, I don't know. I know he had a wife was in the property too. He was married. But we're trying to work and contact the wife to see what they can do for the situation. But so far she hasn't reached out yet. But yeah, she's not on the deed of the property either. So it's kind of in a up in the air situation. So I'm trying to, work with what we can do.
Yeah, that I don't think that's happened to me before.
For real? Yeah, it's crazy.
I think so, yeah. We've seen a lot. Like we've seen hoarders, like all kinds of stuff. I've never walked into like a dead body though. Never. We did buy a property where the homeowner passed away in the living room, and like when we were walking, and she wasn't found for like a week. So when we walked in, you could tell where the body was. So that's the closest though that's happened to me. But I know there's people like who I know here in Hawaii that's had that happen. That's crazy stories. We should do sharing like some of these crazy stories is that's always interesting to hear.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. I love it. I love that mindset. I like going in dead body houses.
Well, you got it right.
That's how you get the deals, dude. You gotta be willing to go any direction. So that's awesome.
Yes, sir.
Anybody got any other good news, good deeds, good happenings? I got to do a shout out to Jacob. Jacob's been a partner on a triplex deal in Tacoma, Washington, and he came into the deal wanting to just kind of maybe loan some money and learn some things. But he's turned out to like just be an absolute champion when it comes to project management. Now we're engaging and renting out the unit. So he's kind of moved into a showing agent as well. So he's learning how to do that. And so, yeah, Jacob's doing a great job. And so just woohoo to Jacob.
Right on. Thanks, Jacob.
Yeah.
Jake also shared his story last call. Yeah, Jake, was that last call?
Yeah, it was last Friday.
Yeah, last Friday. And it was actually a very good lesson, like because he did his scrubbing and his due diligence. Does Keiko know about this guy?
Keiko, no, he's seen the guy's Facebook posts, right, Keiko?
Okay.
Yeah, I was with Jacob when Jacob called me on his way there to one of the meetings, and he's like, "Hey, what do you think of this guy?" I'm like, "Hey, the first 2 words you just said has red flags all over it." He's like, "What, really?" And I think Jacob was like all bummed. He was all excited to go meet this guy, and I'm just like, "Oh, I got red flags already, bro."
Yeah. So that house I walked through, Keiko, it's back on market now, and he was telling me so even more now. His lies are even like it's even worse now because he was like, "Well, if I can't wholesale them, I'll close on them myself. I'll take them down myself." But now I get an email, and it's back on market. Agent. So it's like everything he said was just a bunch of bullshit. It was just all lies. Crazy.
Yeah. Well, you can tell from the minute he offered you 50% kind of a thing, man. if you got to give away 50% equity to try to raise $10,000, then it's like there's something weird. $10,000, you should be able to poop out $10,000 if you're experienced if you're as experienced as he said he was.
Yeah.
You should be able to get 10,000 no problem. But-
By the way, if you can poop out 10,000, like I'd like a meeting with you.
Hey, you hear those ones, a golden egg, right? They're pooping out gold. So
Hey,
can't you poop
whatever.
out catch?
10 Jesus, 10 G's.
Joe's on it. Joe's on it. I'm gonna start trying tonight. So when Joe hits
Yeah, I'm already practicing.
Well,
right now, he's on it. Awesome. That's good.
Oh,
Good stuff.
well,
Any other good news? Good fun, good stories.
I want to talk about and actually I don't even know if we're ready, but about the multifamily product we're trying to align with and kind of put out there in the market.
Can you give me a week? Give me a week and I'll have it nailed in.
Okay.
Really close. So Corey's stealing the thunder.
Hurry up, Rob.
We're working on a really good product that is going to be awesome for anybody who wants to buy a multifamily that's going to need rehab funds and has the ability to bring in some partners and sometimes not even necessarily have to have experience. So kind of all the cool buzzwords there. Tyler and I are working with them right now on a beta deal. So we just sent them a small 40 unit in Waco for them to help us think it through and walk through. So in a week from now, we should be able to see if they're legit. And if it's legit, then yeah, 100% Corey. We've got a product that I think everybody will be really excited about to be able to use for multifamilies.
Well, we know the players, and the players are definitely legit. It's but they just got acquired. So whenever that happens, there's some transition, right? So
and there's uncertainty still, and they're saying certain things, but they're also caveating by saying, but we're still figuring stuff out. It's like, well, when you got a but after a statement, I'm always a little leery until the but goes away. Until the butt poops out gold, right? I'm a little bit worried about that. It's a lot of butts today. But speaking of multifamilies, I think Tyler's on. If anybody is looking for some deals, we have a couple deals we're analyzing now, and we just figure we'll just let Tyler bring them up in case anyone's got a lead or knows who's interested. And then we'll just share. And if anybody wants to take on a deal together, we'll do it together. Corey and I are still looking to try to figure out if we can take down a deal that we'll all be a part of. Tyler, you got a couple that you want to do. Do the Tallahassee, Florida. That's what I was thinking. Okay, cool. So go high level, kind of go quick, and then hit a couple. And if anyone's really interested, they can reach out. Okay, I'll share my screen if I could have access. You share your screen. Make sure you get clothes on, Rob. He lives on the beach in California, so we got to make sure the guy puts on clothes.
All right, so this is Ashton Oaks. This is a 2-property portfolio in Tallahassee, Florida. So it's southwest, and I'll get to the location. I think they have it here on the OM, but this is on market, kind of pre-market because they haven't done a lot of marketing. We talked to the broker. They said they just put it on right when I got it sent over. I'm really bullish on it. I like the location. It's southwest Tallahassee. It's about 1.4 miles from Florida State University. And with that, not only students are in the area, but there's a ton of staff that have to work at the university because it's big. I think it's the #2 public university in Florida. So just going through it, what do we got?
Price per door, Tyler?
Huh?
Price per unit?
Yeah, it's $63,000 a unit. And when I check the sales comps, they're all high 90s to 100 plus a door. That's what really excited me about it, was actually the price point. Just because, Florida's on the up and up. There's a ton of people moving to Florida from states like California. And yeah, I just really like the location, and the price per door is just crazy. So like I said before, it's the two properties right across the street from each other. So going into the model, it's comprised of one by ones and 2x1s. So on Ashton Glen, which has the 96 units, there's the 64 1x1s and the 32 2x1s. And then Ashton Oaks is 71 units of just 1x1s. So that was in the OM that you showed the difference. They're just right across the street. When I did the pro forma rents, I got up to $1.40 per square foot. And if you look right here on CoStar, that's definitely, it's my job on choosing pro forma rents is being able to defend it, right? Whether that's to Cocoa or the investment group. So what I do is I like to show how I'm getting there, okay? So I put in $1.475 million in renovations, which you can see here. This is the breakdown of it. So it's a lot of cosmetic stuff, as you can see. And then when I got to the $1.40, I went on CoStar to see if I could defend it, right? So as you can see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 apartments right nearby. As you can see, it's like a mile to 3 miles away that are getting much higher rents. And these are the pro formas. This is after putting in almost $1.5 million. So I can defend that all day long. Just going through, this is all my inputs here. The loan to cost is lower. They had an assumable loan here. This is the Freddie product that I used instead of that was 35 years. This is actually a different product. I was talking to one of our lenders. It was Jeffrey Cocoa. So he said they're doing a 35-year amortizing loan at 5 years IO. It's less loan to cost, but they're going to still give about that $6.75 million. And that'll give us 11.8% cash on cash return with almost 26% IRR. So I think this deal is a home run based off the price point alone. And then on top of that, the location and the rates that we're getting are pretty decent. How's that for fast, Cocoa?
That's pretty fast. I like it. I like it. Corey, you and I should look at this one, man. $60-some thousand a unit. It's a pretty good deal.
What's the equity raise?
This is right here, the total investment. But like Cocoa was saying, this is unfinanced rehab right now. So on the product that we were talking to the guy yesterday, this could be financed as well.
Yeah.
And up to I think what 80% loan to cost, Cocoa?
Yeah, change that just for fun real fast. Move it up to finance rehab and then change it to 80%.
But the rate's 9.5.
9.5, yeah. So it's a bridge loan, but let's just see what happens to the
IRR goes crazy. But the
cash on cash goes down. But for an interim deal, that's not too bad because the reversion value in 5 years is $19 million. You make 9 mil.
Shouldn't cash on cash go up?
Well, the interest rate is
the debt service goes through the roof, which brings down the cash on cash because the NOI is less than it.
The ideal is to use the bridge for the first year to 2 years, IO only, and then refi out at that point into a agency product that'll be down in the 5s.
Yeah, so this actually
this
wouldn't even be accurate because this would only be for the first 2, and it would be two years IO, and then the other 3 would be based off a blended rate. Well, it would be a different rate, but for here I would have to do a blended rate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it just gives you an idea that if you do a bridge loan, that's what you get. Now, for anybody who's kind of not sure what that means, when you do a bridge loan, you actually can finance in the rehab, kind of like on the fix and flips, but you're building in like what's the rehab? 1.4?
1.475, yeah.
Yeah, so that's nice because you don't have to bring all that to the table in cash. The challenge is that your cash on cash goes down, but it gets you into the deal. And the key thing is so long as your income will absorb the debt, then you're okay for the IO. And then you get the asset.
And it's a $2.6 million raise instead of about 4.
Yeah, that's correct. And 2.6 is easy to raise.
Mhm.
Corey poops it out of his butt, as we showed earlier. That's cool. Anybody?
You guys have another
do
one? I like these.
you have another one?
Wasn't there, oh, go ahead, bro.
You could do Dallas, Tyler, the 97 unit in Dallas. Do you want to do that one?
Yep.
That's a pretty nice one.
Okay, this is Norvell Court, 97 units, East Dallas. So I'll just go through the OM to show you some pictures. It's in pretty decent shape. The price point, if I remember, is great too. What their problem was, was poor management. That's what the broker said, and since then they've been bringing up the revenue, so that's obviously good. Going into the model. Oh yeah, this one had an assumable loan of 3.16% at the 68% loan to value, which was great. They have already renovated, if I believe. I'd have to confirm how many they've already renovated, but I know that they only put in 8,000 for the fully renovated and 5,500 for the partially renovated. But we went in and we had put 876,000 into CapEx, 97 units split up between 1x1s and 2x1s. I only raised the rents about $30 per unit. This one for 90, this is a sub $100,000 unit for Dallas, that is great. Obviously you can see it's not in, I wouldn't say it's in the best location in Dallas, but it's definitely not the worst, because as you can see, this right here, if you could see my mouse, this is where the college is, SMU. So right around here is the best location. It's where the most money is and the highest incomes, but right here is definitely not bad. Moving on to, well, first, you can see the economic vacancy is massive, which is comprised of a huge vacancy as well as bad debt, loss to lease, in concessions. But year one, we're dropping that down to 35% because better management and takeover and renewals. So this location in Dallas is actually the best submarket for the other income and inflation. So I straight lined it at 5, which is huge. As you can see, 2023 it's projected through RealPage, our software, 12.7%, which is the highest out of Dallas, which is a top 5 submarket in America. So the returns ended up being 11.2% 5-year average, and then 27% IRR, which is
really good.
Yeah.
It's fun. We should do a pop quiz. Everybody should have to get a quiz after this.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
So
Anybody having questions about the model or anything like that, or anybody else evaluating deals and you just got questions about how Tyler's running the deals? That's always helpful too. Anything else, Tyler, you want to add?
The advantage to this deal was the low interest rate. As you can see in these, I mean, most of the problems we're seeing in the real estate market today are because of the interest rate. So finding deals that have low interest rates is huge. I mean, look at just the cash on cash reflecting, and that's not even that high of a loan to value. And it has the unfinanced rehab, so it's a higher raise. It's a $4 million raise, and you're still getting 11.2%. I mean, this is just it's a great find. Call for offers was Wednesday, pushed it out to Friday, and I'm going to contact the broker on Monday to see if there's still opportunity to put a offer in, because he said there was about 14 teams that came in toward it, and there will probably be, he was just estimating because this is on Tuesday and the call for offers wasn't until the next day. But I mean, I think there's 2 to 3 offers in probably. But I think this is a great deal, so definitely going to follow up on Monday.
What's the purchase price again?
Yeah. It's about, he said mid to low 90s a door, so I put it in at 94.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a pretty good deal. Because look at the reversion value in just a few years. Don't you make 10 mil? Oh no, you make about 6 mil.
Mhm.
Still not too bad. Not a bad thing.
Yeah.
That's cool. Dante says he's interested in one of them. Dante, we get Tyler, you get Dante's email address, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I should have it.
Shoot Dante a message. We can send. If anybody else wants to get some of these things direct from Tyler when he sends them out, drop your email in the chat and then he can add you to the list in case you want to be a part of we call it the ballers list. So we send them out to a bunch of folks with a lot of capacity, and we'd be happy to add you to the ballers list.
I want to be a baller.
Baller. Be a baller. Let's be a baller. Tay's gonna be a baller.
So did you guys hear that Blackstone is they exited the single family space, and not only did they exit, but they created a new REIT designed specifically for office and retail. So everybody was worried about them going into single family, and us becoming a nation of renters, which is still, I mean, there's still a lot of funds that are acquiring single family, but usually wherever Blackstone moves, like that's where the opportunity is. And we've been hearing a lot about office and retail, right? So I think that's going to be some relief from the single family market, which might mean perhaps, I don't know if they've already made their move, but more inventory for sure. I know they had a presence in Vegas, and a lot through the Southwest Southwest I saw, but it looks like they're going into office and retail, which makes sense. Does anybody do office and retail here?
We do retail, we do commercial shopping centers, but
I wonder
We haven't.
how's Gary doing?
on the shopping mall side,
Yeah.
crushing it. He's still buying shopping centers.
Is he still? Is he not retired anymore? He's still in the game.
He's building 300 multifamily units on Kauai, and then I think 600 multifamily units on the Kona side of Big Island.
Man,
So he got into the multifamily space, but the bottom is mixed use retail. So that's coming from his retail side, and then apartments, and yeah, he's called a couple times looking for investors. But yeah,
he's looking for investors.
Yeah, these are big deals.
Let's find an office building, dude, and let's bring him in and let's learn.
Shopping center is better than office buildings right now, for sure.
Or I would prefer mixed use, wouldn't you?
Mixed use is good. Office, we're gonna see if anybody's been listening to Ken McElroy. Ken's actually saying that office buildings are gonna be the single biggest domino producing catalyst for the recession. So
It's gonna start at office.
Yeah, just because there's so many offices that were leased during COVID, and now those leases are expiring, and a lot of people are not going back to work. So offices, like this is true in Seattle too. There's a lot of people that I know that go into their office and they're like, it's a ghost town. There's
Right.
4% of the people there, handful of people. And so of course, these companies are evaluating, like, do we keep paying these large amounts of rent or get a small little office co-working thing or something, and then send everybody home. So Amazon just recently implemented here, everybody back to the office. Partly, I think, is because they had spent so much money building gorgeous offices here in Washington. Gorgeous. I mean, absolutely phenomenal. And, they're probably like, well, we can't get out of these. No one's going to buy them. So we want everybody back at work. So traffic is now crazy again. Microsoft has announced something a little bit similar. So yeah, so some people are trying to force people back to their offices, but I think smaller offices, smaller companies with the smaller leased offices are just saying, hey, we can save money by getting rid of our office. So I think that's why someone like Ken McElroy is saying all the banks that are holding these loans on office spaces are going to have a hard time because the owners of those aren't going to be able to lease them out because people aren't leasing office spaces right now. Unless the office space can be converted to mixed use, like you said, Corey, then that would be strategic, because then, you know, you could do here in Washington in a place called Tacoma, kind of down by where Jacob lives. They're taking office buildings and rezoning them into multifamilies. So that's creative. So big, tall office building is becoming multifamily. But to me, that's an expensive rehab because you got to run plumbing for every bathroom and kitchen in an office building that's pre-existing. So yeah.
Well, it's like, I think that's the only move that they can really make other than demolishing the thing. But because one, we're short housing pretty much nationwide. Two, office is kind of, I think I don't see how that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Because that space is already being disrupted because of Amazon and online shopping. And then COVID just kind of, that was the nail in the coffin, and then work from home. And, you know, so
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw that article in San Francisco, one of the office buildings, they're more prominent ones. I forget what it's called. I'm staring at the article right now, but they basically, I think they built it for 300 million and it's being sold for around 60 right now.
Wow.
Like, that's how bad it is in San Francisco. Sounds like office buildings are vacant, you know, so what are they going to do there, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's what's interesting, Corey, on that lender that we're talking about. If everything does work out, they're going to have a really interesting product for some of these creative multis, like an office building conversion, ground up multis. So yeah, I mean, if someone's got the bandwidth and the appetite to do it, the hard part is offices can really slow down. I mean, the offices will be slowed down by the permitting if the city is not in favor. That's the hard part.
Well, and I seriously think we need to find a nice solid retail deal and bring Gary in as a sponsor. Yeah, our sponsor, you know, have him be our sponsor. Let's just learn. We tried to in like, what year was that? Was that 5 years ago already? Vegas?
Yeah, no, if anybody knows of a good shopping center in a stable community that is under rented, like, let us know. Those are the types of things that are fun to take down. Usually strip malls.
Yeah. Because he would lease them out. He would get them like lease commitments, right? And then get it financed.
Yeah, and sometimes, yeah. Well, because he has relationships. So if you look at, like, he owned Hawaii Kai Town Center, he owned Mililani Town Center, he owned Waipahu Town Center, he owned, I mean, all those malls at one point, there were a lot of vacant spaces. So what he would do is bring in all his national connections, and then they would typically all have a grocery store. He'd always bring in the Payless Shoes. He'd always bring in Rent-A-Center. So every one of his malls had the same tenants, because those guys, before he close on the property, he would take it under contract. As part of the financial underwriting, he'd provide these leases from these national tenants that were already signed to take the property. And so therefore, it became a no-brainer deal for financing.
What market would you look for? Would it be more of a primary market, not so much Vegas? Would it be?
Darius is saying Kansas City. That's awesome.
Kansas
It could be Vegas, it could be Kansas City, it could be, you know, like the main thing for a lot of these shopping centers is that if there's a residential community and schools nearby, those are good growing communities, and those shopping plazas support that community. So usually that's where the UPS store is, the nail salon is, the barber shop is, the grocery store. That strip mall, you'll notice across the country, usually does really well. But there are some quieter communities that are outside of the main hub that, I mean, kind of like a Waipahu, if you will, kind of like a Tacoma, kind of like not downtown Vegas, but if you go out to Pahrump, you know, so all those little outskirt cities also have shopping centers. Those are the ones right now that I think can get a better deal and then get some good national tenants in. Because commercial properties, if everybody remembers, it's valued based on the income. So it's a cap rate formula. So you take your net income and then you use your cap rate formula to get your valuation. So if you buy a building that has half the units empty and it's a commercial building, it's going to be worth half the value because there's only half the income. So then the value add play is then you clean it up, you bring in some great tenants, and then they pay big leases, just like multifamilies. You then have a new evaluation because now your net income is super high. And that's where you can sometimes refinance it, take all your cash out as a BRRRR, and then you BRRRR the shopping plaza. So that's what Gary Pinkston has done his whole career, is BRRRR shopping plazas.
So
You can do that.
I think the Bend would be a great area, wouldn't you?
The Bend, yeah, but no more. That's why it's too much of a growing area. I've tried
early.
every
It's too
shopping
early.
plaza. Well, there's too much growth. Vegas has too many people moving to it still. So there's no need.
The demand
There's
is still coming in over there, yeah?
Yeah, so there's no vacant shopping centers. There's, you know, the only thing that's interesting right now is there's a massive Kmart in Henderson that is for sale for $11 million. It's like 100,000 square feet. So someone could take that and split that into multiple uses and probably make a ton of money. But it's going to cost a developer a good, healthy chunk of money for sure.
Hey, I wonder how much that country club is still going for. The Indian Palms.
Palm Springs. Yeah. Yeah, we should have bought it when we were there, dude. We were so young.
That was a scary one.
It was crazy. But
I'm glad we didn't buy them. Yeah. No, I think like what would be like, let's say we acquired retail shopping mall, right? Outdoor. Like what would be the businesses, and we have to fill the thing. What would be the businesses that would need space that aren't really affected by the COVID work from home and online shopping? Like if, let's say we bought this thing and then like, you know, now it's like, oh, it's vacant. We got to fill this thing, right? Like, and nobody's coming in and we have to go get the business. Like what doors would we knock?
Probably service businesses.
Service?
Yeah.
Like what type do you think?
I mean, anything medical or like sort of medical, like gyms, physical therapy.
I think
independent,
co-working.
like doctors and stuff. Yeah, co-working could be good too.
Co-working, because the whole purpose is to be kind of gathering and working together, right? So perhaps co-working, maybe like recording studios. You have to record in person, or can you record not in person nowadays? Does anybody know?
I don't know anything about the recording studios, but I would agree with a lot of what Ben was saying. So, you know, with my group WN Properties with CJ Calio, if you guys know him.
Yep.
You know, we focused a lot during the past couple of years on, you know, what we call like recession-proof sort of
Yes.
tenants, right? So it's a lot of the medical space, you know, doctors, you know, realtors are actually required to have a brick and mortar location. So, you know, creating that, you want a good ecosystem of tenant mix, right? So not, you gotta make sure that the tenants that you're bringing in, you know, based on the submarket that you're in, that it makes sense. And when you kind of create an ecosystem where some of the tenants kind of rely on the other tenants that are in the same building. For instance, one of our investors in the group got a property where, you know, one of the tenants is like a senior care facility. And then right next door, they have like a physical therapist, you know, right next door to that, they have like an eye doctor or something. So it's a nice little ecosystem they created where now, you know, when there's patrons that are coming to the building, they can get everything that they need done. And so, you know, if you're buying like a strip mall, like, you know, if there's a nail salon there, you know, maybe a barber shop, right? So a lot of these spaces where regardless of the market times, you know, those facilities are still have a customer demand. You know,
Love it.
maybe like a building I own, I have a daycare that was booming. I've had
Ooh.
the tenant has been there since 2008. Business has grown year over
Yep.
year since then. She signed a 5-year triple net lease with me. I'm good, and I have 2 5-year options, so it could potential 5 to 15 years of triple net lease. And so kind of looking at the right tenant mix that that makes sense, and you know, will
Who's a
be
typical
long
anchor
lasting.
for you guys? I know it
It
varies,
would
like, yeah.
depend on the type of property, right? So if you're looking at retail, it could be like a Five Below, for instance, or a Marshalls, or you know, some of those bigger stores, or like a grocery store.
Mhm.
I think one of our team members has a grocery store chain, or like a CVS. I mean, still looking at some of those. One of
Sometimes
those,
Starbucks is the anchor too, right? Sometimes if
it
it's a
could be.
smaller.
If it's a smaller building, Starbucks could be an anchor, but
Are they easy? I heard they're kind of hard to work with. Is that true? Have you worked with a Starbucks before?
I haven't personally, no.
What's interesting about Starbucks is they don't own the building. They always want to lease. It's crazy. Dutch
They live
Brothers
in-
buys the land. So if you ever want to own a Starbucks, it's great because they're there for 10, 20 years and they'll sign massively long leases. The challenge is that the price point to buy the land under a Starbucks is pretty high because people just like, rich people like to say they own a Starbucks, and that's their way of doing it.
They put it at a very low cap rate. When you look at the overall property that may have a Starbucks in it, the building itself could be underperforming, but because there's a Starbucks there, then you're looking at a cap rate of like, you know, 3 or 4, and you're like, what the
Yeah.
fuck? This building doesn't make sense. You know?
Yeah.
So sometimes you got to walk away from that. So it really
Yeah.
just does depend.
Darius, where are you located at?
So I'm from Hawaii, born and raised as well. I'm from Eva actually, but I'm actually active duty Navy
Right.
station.
Eva Beach, man. That's where
I lived right on Renton Road. My parents have an old plantation house, like 100 years old, just about,
nice.
right behind Zippy's.
Well, that's the real deal, Eva Beach. You know? Yeah,
Real Eva, you know,
it's the real Eva.
Old school
Not Eva
Eva
Gentry.
like
with
the Filipino
lifted
camp.
Tacoma
side.
trucks.
That's where my family's from.
That's
Nice.
awesome.
But you're in Kansas City now.
No, I'm active duty in Virginia, but I
Oh.
invest in Kansas City because that's just where the mentorship happened to be, and you know, we have a really great team that they've been working with for the past about decade at this point.
Yeah, you work
Love
with WNN Properties, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
CJ and Jasmine are friends of
CJ
ours.
and Jonas. I mean, I went out there last month and we meant to go tour 40 properties in 2 days.
Wow. Yeah.
We toured 40 commercial buildings, 2 days, wrote up our offers. So we'd go from 7 in the morning to about 7 at night. And then we'd go back to the office and run numbers until about 1 o'clock in the morning. And then we get up and do it all over again. And then I flew back and went to work the next day. Still active duty military, you know. So it was a crazy
Right.
time. We really put in the work out there. So we
Awesome,
definitely
man.
did the market for sure. Yep.
Well, keep
You
us
got-
updated. Yeah. Like, is that a cash flow only market or is it appreciating?
It's both. We mainly invest there for the cash flow, but when we can force appreciate a lot of these buildings, you know, we buy them vacant. Essentially, like you guys were saying, the BRRRR strategy, but for commercial. One day I'm going to coin the term BRRRMercial. I'm going to get there one day.
Done.
That's kind of what
BRRRMercial.
we do, right? We go and find these underperforming properties, and you know, like Keko was saying, it's all based on the NOI. That's really your crux in how you analyze commercial. And so if I take a building that's empty, one, it's hard to assign a cap rate to it. You can't. It's difficult when there's no income. But I kind of give it a wag and I figure out, all right, you know, if I can look at the market and see, all right, I can charge about $10 per square foot triple net. And so when I run that, you know, for the entire square foot of the building, that'll give me some NOI. And from there, you know, you can see the value add of that property. And so just changing that number on your leases is insane. You can add like hundreds, if not millions of dollars of value to a property in an instant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's mainly our bread and butter is going and finding these properties that are underperforming, putting the right tenants in place, and get those long leases, 10, 15-year leases. And there you
Are you
go.
mostly Kansas City on those malls?
For us, so I say Kansas City just because most people are familiar with that, but we invest in both on the Kansas side and Missouri side.
Oh, gotcha.
And in a lot of the submarkets. So not just Kansas City itself, because that's just near the river there, but we invest in a lot of the submarkets out there too.
Gotcha.
There's a few retail strip malls that we've seen that I actually visited that were like completely I'm talking like 80% vacant.
Really,
so
in Kansas?
it's an
Huh.
opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you only sourcing deals there, or are you going elsewhere too?
So for me personally, that's kind of where I'm starting in terms of my commercial portfolio. But being here in the DMV area, right? DC, Maryland, Virginia, you're talking some of the richest counties in all of North America, right? We have like the 3 out of the 5 richest counties in America. But there's some good opportunities out here as well, because we got all the large tech industries here. We have the government here. So there's a lot of opportunity. One of my mentors out here, Omni Casey, is actually building a city in Loudoun, which is like the 2nd richest county in America. And it's like a $3 billion deal. It's insane.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, if you ever find good deals around the country and you want to, have us look at it with you, let us know. Tyler's our full-time analyst. He's the best.
I would appreciate that, because my biggest struggle, I started in real estate just at the end of 2021. I just came off deployment on my submarine. I was actually stationed home in Hawaii. Then I got stationed here in Virginia, and I started in a mentorship program at WNN. And just last year, I bought my first commercial investment property in Kansas City.
Nice.
So my biggest struggle was raising the capital. I mean, I grinded it out last year, raised about $300,000 to take the deal down. So I'm looking to repeat that. But again, my struggle is raising capital. I can find deals. We have a great broker out there that finds a lot of off-market properties, and so I can find deals. It's just a means of getting the capital to the right people that can help take it down.
Yeah. Well, and we can probably help you find capital as long as it's Kansas City's not for everybody.
Yep.
And Missouri's not, but if it's a solid deal, it's always possible.
Mhm.
Let us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Darius. That's awesome that like only since 2021, man, like your stuff, so, and it's impressive, like the mentorship program, if that's what you guys are doing, getting out there, touring properties, running numbers, making offers, like that's the only way to get going, right? Just get out there.
Yeah. CJ always tells us we have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. I mean, before I jumped in the commercial last year, originally I was going to just do the BRRRR strategy, right? Single family houses up to 4plexes. And last year I had an opportunity, or really a situation that my mentor put me through. And I had a condo that I owned in Hawaii in Mililani. And, I had negative cash flow. As we know, like long-term rentals in Hawaii, very difficult unless you own that home for like 20+ years.
Yep.
So I was faced with this situation of, I'm here literally living across the world, right? Like 6,000-7,000 miles away, with this property that's negatively cash flowing about $500-600 a month, which, I could hack it, right? Like I was sort of making a little bit more here in Virginia, but, I'm looking at my statements every month. I'm like, oh my God, this is such a headache. And God forbid anything goes wrong, right? Then, that's still just coming out of my pocket, which actually the first day I got that property rented out, the ceiling fan just dropped out and just fell on the floor. I was like, what? That ceiling fan was put in like 4 years ago. Like it was pretty much new. So of course things happen. And actually Jeremy is a good friend of mine. He's my friend from high school, and he was actually my property manager at the time. And he's
Jeremy
like,
Mateo?
Yeah, Jeremy Mateo. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We go way back. We go back 15 years.
Oh, no shit.
And so then he was like, hey, I hate to break it to you, but your ceiling fan's just like on the floor, and now the renter's about to move in tomorrow. I'm like, what the fuck?
Oh no.
So of course that's how my journey started out. And so fast forward to March of last year, you know, it's like my third month in to having that property rented. Seeing that cash flow statement, I turned to my mentor. I'm like, dude, I can't do this anymore. It's just, this is so annoying. I looked at my options, right? Could I get a HELOC on it? You know, my equity went up about 200K from since 2018. And so then I was getting back a lot of pushback from a lot of the lenders during that time period. They're like, oh no, we appraise your property at like, you know, 580, which was like way less than what the market was showing. So I'm like, that doesn't really make any sense for me. Can't do that. So I ended up putting my property up for sale in March. I signed documents on the day of my wedding with
Nice.
one of Jeremy's you know, team members. You know, so he came to my hotel, like I signed those documents right there. Like my wife didn't know at the time. And then, you know, went ahead, did my wedding, and about a month later we closed. And I ended up, you know, I told my mentor, I was like, hey, if I'm gonna go and pivot from this property that I sold, I'm gonna go and do something big. So instead of going and buying all these small little single family houses in Kansas City, I'm gonna go big. So I bought a you know, bought a 1.1 office building that has a daycare. And the reason I did that was more of a proof of concept, because the tenant, like I said, she was there since 2008. Business is booming, and she up front said, I want to sign a 5-year lease triple net. And I was like, okay,
Done.
say no more, done. So we negotiated. I raised her NOI by 10K within year one. So that was like an instant almost $200,000 of equity added. And then, you know, with the
Good for you.
year-over-year increase about 3%. So that got me thinking in terms of, you know, how can I go into commercial real estate? The questions I had a lot of questions before I jumped in, and my mentor finally just said, you know what, you just got to do it and figure it out. You'll find out how to do it along the way. So my first task was, well, I need 20K for my earnest money. Where the fuck does that money come from? I don't have that sitting in my bank account, you know, like I didn't
Yeah.
really want to touch my TSP and get into all that tax stuff. So I just asked the question to my 1031 intermediary. I was like, hey, there's like 130K just sitting in the bank. Can I have 20K that just wire to title? They're like, oh yeah, we can do that. I'm like, oh, thank God. Had I not asked the question, I would have never known, right? And I would have just had to scrounge up 20K from somewhere else. And then I was faced with the next task. You know, I'm looking at this preliminary numbers my mortgage broker sent me, and it said I needed about 300K to close. And I was like, okay, so far I got about 130, so I need about 200 more. So I look at my mentor, I'm like, the fuck do I do next? Right? Like, I'm just like,
Oh, I get that.
this task of like, how do I raise nearly $250,000 to take this deal down? But I ended up reaching to about 130 plus of my friends and families, like people I went to college with, other people I served in the military with, other mentees of our mentorship program. And I went under contract in 4th of July. And by August, I think August 6th or 7th, my mortgage broker asked for proof of funds. I was short about 70K. And then I was like, when does he need it by? He's like, oh, they'll need it by, you know, 6 days from now. I'm like, okay, give me 6 days. And so I went, you know, I host a couple of networking events out here, and I go to a couple of different real estate events. I was just putting myself out there. I'm like, all right, I looked at everything that I was doing. I was like, I need to do something different. At the time, I tried posting on my social media, this is what I do kind of day to day. You know, I was trying to figure out like, what am I saying at networking events? How am I presenting myself? You know, what can I do differently? Because obviously if I'm doing the same things and I'm not producing the results I want, I got to change. And so then, you know, I went back through the list of people that I talked to, figure out like, all right, I had some people that were warm, kind of talking to them for a few months. And then I started getting a little bit more direct in my ask, because I think before I realized I would talk about like real estate or talk, you know, maybe catch up with them, but I wasn't being as direct. And so I learned how to just go for the ask. And, you know, if you get the no, you get the no, you move on, you find someone else. And so once I did that, within 2 days, I got a soft commitment for 90K. So I was like, oh shit, okay.
Wow.
Now, this person was also part of our mentorship program, but she had just joined and, you know, had like a fat HELOC, like 300 or 400K, and was looking to use it somewhere. So that helped it. The challenge I face now, ever since I closed on this property in September, is reaching outside of my network, right? People that may not have known me for the years, right? Two of my investors are in the military. One of them served in the same submarine as me. The other one was actually my roommate. I was an accidental investor, right? I sort of house hacked it because I let him rent one of my bedrooms. I had like a three bed, 2 bath place. And so because he knew me for such a long time, was actually one of my groomsmen for my wedding. He was like, oh yeah, I'd be happy to invest. Now I'm faced with, how do I go out to these people that have never met me before, be able to establish that rapport, that relationship, and then, you know, be able to kind of raise the funds, even though that I've only done one deal. But when I'm looking at these people that have a little bit more disposable income, how do I get them to see that despite my track record being still new, you know, that I have the drive, the resilience, you know, to get the deal done, you know, with the integrity to make sure that I'm making a smart decision with their money, right? So that's kind of been my struggle for the past 7 months now since I own this property.
Yo, I love it. I love it because I love every intro because it shows, like, you know, I've been asked every time, like, how do I get, you know, private capital? How do I get investors? How do I get, you know, private money? And it's it's not an easy question to answer, you know, the only answer is you got to put yourself out there, you know, and exactly like how you did. And the problem is that most people won't reach back 130 contacts in their phone and actually call them and have the courage to, you know, reach out to people you haven't even heard from in years, you know, and try to rekindle a relationship and then ask if they want to share in on the opportunity. You know, if you truly believe that you have an opportunity, which you did, then you'll make it happen, you know, and you have to truly believe in the deal. And that's why when you find a deal, that's, you know, the money will follow. But as long as if you believe in the deal, then and it makes sense, you have all the data to back you up, then raising money isn't actually that intimidating. You know, it's still challenging, but it's not that intimidating because you have the solid deal behind you and you believe in it 100%. And all you have to do is share and educate. But you do have to believe in it because that energy like radiates from you, right?
Yep.
Nobody wants to hear like, hey man, I got this deal. It's pretty good. You know, I need like $250,000, you know, and we're gonna make some money. You know, it's like, no, like get out of here. Like, you have to sell the vision. You have to get people to believe in you. And in order to do that and be really good at raising capital is you have to believe in the deal. You have to believe in your opportunity. Otherwise it's gonna, if you're trying to put more sparkles on a deal that's not too sparkly, then it's gonna shine through. You know, you're gonna be found out, especially at that level. You know, when you're raising capital, they know the right questions to ask, you know, and what the answer should be for the most part, if they're experienced, you know, LPs or investors. So, but I love your story because like that takes grit. Like that's how you raise capital. When people tell me how do I raise private money, it's like, that's how you raise private money. You know what I'm saying? Kudos to you, Darius.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
One of my mentors just say, you know, smile and dial, right? Like it took me months to get that message. I mean, literally 6 months. I started off December, I think, of 2021 of learning how to post on my social media, right? Be a little bit more present and kind of put myself out there doing real estate stuff. That physically drains me. I mean, that's just not what I do, right? And so I wanted to do anything and everything I could to just put myself in the uncomfortable situations and just learn, see a different side of me, right? You know, my background, I'm a submarine officer, you know, in the nuclear community. And for me to go out there and just do all these kind of things, like go talk to these people in person sometimes, right? You know, just, it's been a challenge, you know, but you know, I'm glad I'm on it. This is my final year in the military as well. And so, you know, I'm continuing to put myself out there this year so I can continue to just set myself up for the rest of what comes next.
Man, well, thank you for sharing and coming on our call, Darius. Like,
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
took a lot of inspiration from that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
you're
Yeah.
on your way, bro. You are
I
on
hope
your way.
so. Hope so.
No, you are, dude. Yeah. Thank you.
Let us know how we can help you, man.
Yeah, please. Let's stay in touch.
Yeah, absolutely. I did have one other thing. It's more of a personal project. I won't take too much time here. I can email you guys the details later. But the reason I jumped on this call, actually, Jin Lim is actually my mentor from WNN. And so he just wanted to put me in touch with you guys because I'm doing a personal project for my family. So quick background on me. I was born to very abusive parents. I grew up in foster care from the age of 4 till about 13, lived in 5 different homes, 5 different foster families, and 5 different elementary schools. And the reason I came on the call is, the parents that ended up adopting me in Eva, their house is in reverse mortgage. And I was trying to think of a way, like, how can I help my family who took me in, right? My mom has 16 kids. She raised 40 or 50 foster children from when she was about 50 till about almost 70. Just kind of, she had her whole life just giving back to her society, her community, right? She raised almost all her grandchildren there. She has like 60 grandchildren, 60, that just to put that in perspective.
Amazing.
And so, my mom just lived her whole life just wanting to help other people. And my dad had a very severe medical issue that occurred when this was about over 15 years ago at this point. And they ended up having, I guess their choice at the time, and I wish I was educated in real estate at the time, was to put the house in reverse mortgage so they could pay off like this 6 figures worth of medical debt. And, due to that, now my parents being, in their 80s, I'm trying to help that situation, right? I'm trying to help my siblings, think up other creative ways that we could remedy this and repair the house, because it's, like I said, over 100 years old. So I'm thinking to do like a major rehab of it and refinance the loan out, so we can keep it in the family and rent a portion of it out. So that's kind of like, my vision for being able to give back to my family who did everything they could. The reason I'm here today is because they put me on this path to success. I never thought I was going to be able to go to college. 3% of foster youth graduate college. And I was luckily one of those 3%, right? I did get to go to university and commission into the military. And, being on the path that I am wouldn't have happened if I didn't have a family that took me in on their own.
God, I love you even more, dude. I'll give you my contact. The property's here in Hawaii. Yeah.
Yeah, it's in Eva, right by is
In Eva.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know if you have my contact. I'll drop it in the chat, but send me an email or call me. And even over the weekend is good to go. And yeah, we'll figure that out. Let's dive into the numbers to see what we can do for mom and dad.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah. If there's an angle for something to be done, it'll get done. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I was trying to look like, could I rezone the prop? Like, I don't know. I was just trying to think of creative solutions to do something about it.
Yep. Well, thank you, bro. And let's stay in touch for sure. Thank you for sharing. That was great.
Yeah, sorry everyone else that's on the call. Like, it's super random, I know. But I appreciate it.
I got a lot out of it. No, dude, like, yeah, that's what I love about these calls. Sometimes you never know where the conversation is gonna go and who's gonna be leading it and telling their story and what you're gonna hear. Like, I got so much inspiration out of that, Darius. Like, I want to know more about your story. And then let's help mom, let's go look at that. Yeah.
In the chat, Sam says he bought his mom's place out of reverse. So Darius, maybe you could connect with Sam and see what insights he might have. Sam, you got an email address? Maybe you could drop in there, or a number, if you don't mind. Good question.
That sounds awesome. Thank you, Sam.
Darius, answer that question if you would. What is a reverse mortgage?
Yeah, I'll just give it the real short and sweet. Definitely not a loan officer or anything, but a reverse mortgage is similar in essence to a cash out refinance, but the stipulation is the bank will take your house back, right? So at this point, when you do a reverse mortgage, you'll get a large lump sum. You can split it up in multiple payments, or you can get one large check of like, whatever the equity you're taking out. And at that point, your payments on that house freezes, right? You're not having to make monthly mortgage payments anymore. You're not having to pay interest payments. However, the equity in your home now doesn't belong to you, right? It belongs to the bank. And the reverse mortgage is slated for about 30 years. And so during that time period, you and your family can live there for as long as whoever's name is on that property is alive, or whoever they have on their will, right? So in my case, my mom's name is on the deed. It's been on there since, oh God, like the 60s, I want to say. She's been there for a long time. And when she passes away, in her will, she has that, my dad is allowed to live there. So when they both pass away, the bank will then take that house back. They'll give the family an option. Either, you sell us the house, take the money and leave, or if there's no money, whatever, like they'll just clear the debt and you don't have to do anything, just kind of walk away. Or you can take it back from the bank and you're able to put a new mortgage on that property. So that's it in a nutshell. So if there's anything I missed, feel free to fill in those gaps.
That was a good explanation. Yeah. Oh, that was great. Let's catch up later, Darius. Give me a call. I dropped my stuff in the chat. Oh, let me get your email as well.
Yep.
Thank you guys
Call you back
for coming
after this.
on for another Friday call. And hope you guys have a great weekend. And we'll see you guys next week. I gotta jump off. Hello, everybody.
Take care.
Have a good one.
Thanks, guys. Thanks,
See you
Jake.
guys.
Darius.
Hello,
Joe,
everybody.
I see you soon, Joe. Go graduate. See you guys.
Thank you.